Hello and welcome back to Working Title. I'm Ryan Fring with the BitLife Show. Welcome to our sesquicentennial episode. I'm pretty sure that doesn't mean 25. 250? It's our sesquicentennial episode divided by 10. In today's episode, we talk with Dan White, the CEO of Filament Games. It was kind of funny. I was helping my friend move in, and this blonde man showed up. He's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, you're Ryan." And I was like, "That's weird that you know me." But we'd already communicated and scheduled the show, and he realized that it was me, but I didn't realize it was him until, I don't know, a little bit into the conversation. I was trying to play it cool. To be fair, on their website, they have caricatures of themselves, not pictures, so I've never seen him before. But this was a really fun episode. Dan's company does a lot of learning games, and we talk a little bit about game theory and games and education, just what we like to play and things like that. It was a really fun episode. I'm just going to start stealing other YouTubers. The Ben Heck Show, which is right here.
That's fair.
Thank you for the rolling commentary. His tag is, "Let's get started." So, I'm going to do that. Let's get started.
Now, I don't actually know your history, and it's a part of kind of what we'll talk about, give us as little or as much as you like.
Okay.
But how did you get into this? You're a CEO of a game company, and you have lots of games. How did you get into this?
Yeah. Let's see, how far back to go here? Okay, so when I was an undergraduate in the Cambrian era, I've been pre-Cambrian.
Oh yeah.
I was working at a theory center, a supercomputing facility at Cornell University, and we had a grant from the National Science Foundation to build informal science museums online. So basically we wanted to take high-level genetics concepts and figure out if we could teach those to people through a virtual museum. And so we proceeded to create a whole bunch of really, really terrible virtual museums. They were just very primitive, right?
Okay.
Like at the time, I think they were kind of cool. If you were to play them now, and I say play, they had very limited interactivity, but they were very primitive, right? And yet, when we brought kids in to play these very primitive museum/games, they loved them. They got super jazzed about it. And so I got thinking, well, this is terrible, but it's good. So if it was good, maybe it would be great. And so that sent me down
That's
this
what
path.
I'm missing.
Yeah, that's how we build our company.
Yeah, that's right. Everything starts terrible, right?
Yeah.
And so basically from there, I went to the University of Wisconsin to study games and learning with James
Good choice.
and Kurt Squire. There's actually a kind of a funny story there that's a little bit longer that I'll try to keep tight. But basically, years and years before, once I decided that I wanted games and learning to be my career, I looked up this guy, Kurt Squire, who was at MIT with the Games to Teach program funded by Microsoft. And I wrote down his name and immediately lost it. And then I think it was 6 or 7 years later, I had already moved to Wisconsin via my wife at the time, who wanted to be closer to her family in Iowa. I'm from upstate New York. I never would have ended up in the Midwest otherwise. So I found myself here, and I was like, well, I guess what am I going to do? I guess I go to grad school or something. So I went to grad school and met this guy named Kurt Squire and did an informational interview. I was like, wow, that sounds really familiar. So I enroll in the program, and then 2 years into it, getting close to graduation, I'm cleaning out my car, and I find that little post-it note with his name on it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that worked out.
Yeah.
I got to remember to, that's right, I already did that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I wound up here, and ended up studying with him, graduated. We founded the company while I was in school, basically with the idea that we were learning all about the rhetoric around games and learning and how powerful they could be as learning tools. Nobody was really actually putting it into practice. So we said, well, let's just start building stuff and see what happens.
So did you grow up playing games, or what kind of got you, when you were younger into this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all of us, the three founding partners, myself, Alex, and Dan, were all gamers when we grew up, and I think we all have different interests in getting. So as I'm sure you know, there's all sorts of different types of games, different genres, just like movies. And so we all like very different types of games, which is good because it allows us each to bring a different perspective.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? Are you still playing anything right now?
Oh, yeah. Civilization 5. I am not new to Civilization 5. I came back to it because I somehow managed to talk my girlfriend into it, who is a Luddite. Like she doesn't play games at all. She doesn't really watch movies. Like I think it's fair to say she's a technophobe. And so it's like
that hurts.
So I was hanging out with Matt and Jessica, and we were playing. What's the disease game?
Oh, Pandemic. Oh yeah, so good.
And this is like the first game that she had played probably since she was a kid. She was like, I think I like strategy games. Oh, really? I have a game for you.
Yes.
You turn around and you're holding a stack of games. Like, we have a lot to get caught up on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, very cartoonish.
I've been waiting for this moment my entire life.
Very exciting.
Yes, yeah, pretty much verbatim. That's what I said. And then she proceeded to get completely addicted to Civilization.
Oh,
which was
nice.
awesome.
Is Civilization the one? I remember playing some in high school where you built up a civilization, but then you would go to war.
You can. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
That is an option.
Oh,
you probably should.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm the one that's just farming and trading. That's all I do.
Some might say it's sort of a personality test, but yeah, there is the belligerent tactic. You can also there's diplomacy. There's trade and economics. There used to be religion. They took that out. So yeah, there's cultural victories.
So what about Risk? Risk would be, I guess maybe I've never played Risk longer than like 2 hours, but a similar. Have you played Risk? No, I never finished the game. No. It was like, hey, you have to come back now.
I still have one going from 2 years ago. It still is not done yet.
But it seems like that's
it's
I
a
guess
long game.
That's a lot more diplomacy in there. But then in Civilization, how can you, like, if I just go to attack you, how do you diplomacy your way out? You'd have to fight, wouldn't you?
Well, so
I'm also probably mixing this with some game from high school.
It's an interesting question.
If you're a good diplomat.
I've only ever played Civilization against computers, or if there were people in the game, such as recently when I had Lauren join, they were allies, and if I had attacked her, she would have dumped me. So
that's diplomacy. That's real life diplomacy right there.
So basically, when you're playing against AI players, they don't often declare war on you, but they do sometimes do that. And if they do, you have to fight. And then basically you trounce them, and then they sue for peace. And so the way to do that, it's typically the best thing to do is have a technology advantage, right? So if you invest a whole bunch in science and engineering, you can have like tanks when other people have spearmen and stuff like that. So you get these interesting anachronisms in that game, depending on how far you are in your time.
We played this one in high school, and I thought it was Civilization, but it was that similar strategy game, and you could do diplomacy, but I think it was more geared towards war.
Was it called Diplomacy? Because there's a game.
It's not diplomacy, no. And this is a computer game, but what we would do is set up a base, and we'd have a certain amount of time in different areas of the map, and then you could advance time, like 20 years or something, and see where your bases were, and then send them out for war. And it was essentially, we were kind of sowing seeds of our civilization, and like, we think that this will work out if we do this, and then letting the computer handle it for several years, and then fighting, and then this is sounding really dorky now as I'm going over it, but then see how the computers,
it's hard to describe a strategy game without sound dorky.
See how the computers took our design, advanced it, many years, and then how they would fight each other. So when did you start your company? You said like kind of when you finished school or right out of school.
Think about it now. So it's been 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years ago. It was 2005.
And what did that look like when you started? The three of you, just with a wish
three
and a
of
prayer.
us. We were working out of our homes, and we would make some games, and then we would play some games. And actually, we were all playing Mount and Blade at that time. That is one that I will advertise. It's a great game. If you haven't ever checked that one out, just check that out.
What's that on?
It's
Is
PC.
that mobile or okay.
That's PC. Yeah.
Like mountain, like we're climbing a mountain.
It's really hard to say it without it sounding like mountain.
Yeah,
it's Mount.
Horse
and
horse and
ampersands blade.
Are there other mounts aside from horses, or just a horse? Because then they should have just branded Horse and Blade and been really clear about it, because Mountain Blade now gets a lot of hits.
That's so true.
Because
that is so true.
Mountainblade.
If this doesn't work out, new business plan, just make Mountain Blade.
Games that sound really similar.
You've already
like
got a
other
fan
things.
base.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
That's how you name your
We
games,
should
isn't
probably
it?
make Mountain Blade right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, I'd play it. So yeah, that's basically, it was very informal in the beginning. We were just kind of doing it for fun, we were making little prototypes, and basically what happened is we were making, it was my master's I did a project-based thesis, and we were making this ocean science game for that, where you get to play a scientist. You're on this alien planet, and you're trying to do research and understand how the ecosystem works. And so basically, we had this prototype that I presented at Games Learning and Society conference here in Madison, and this guy showed up and he was like, "Oh yeah, I designed that exact same game. I like it. Come present at my conference, a Serious Games conference in Washington D.C." So I flew out to D.C. I got slotted into the last session of last day, so there was like 4 people
He's like,
in the presentation. But one of them
was
the right guy.
Yeah.
No, it was not him. One of them was this guy from a foundation who was like, "Hey, we're considering funding this subsidiary of National Geographic to make an ocean science curriculum. You should consider applying for funding to make this game pair with that curriculum."
Wow.
So approached them and was like, "Hey, I met this guy at this conference. What do you think?" And they were like, "Yeah, no."
Oh, no.
Because we were just a couple of roustabouts.
Yeah.
We had no pedigree or resume or portfolio or anything like that. So basically,
at this time, you had that game though.
we had the prototype.
Yeah,
it was like a prototype held together with duct tape and strings.
Well, that's your problem. That's barely a game. No.
Right. It was all just aspirational at that point. So I went ahead and wrote this grant and didn't get any guidance from them. So I was like, "Whoa, what should we ask for?" And we put our heads together and we're like, "I don't know. How much does it take to make a game? Why don't we like $1 million? How about $1 million?" So I wrote this grant, asked for $1 million. And
You're chuckling as you're writing zeros.
It's like, this is never gonna happen.
This is awesome.
This is gonna be great. Yeah, maybe I'll add another 0. I don't know. Let's add 2 more zeros. And so we submitted the grant, and then they gave it to us. And so we went back to this organization, and we're basically like, "Well, now we've got $1 million.
So we have the funding, so
why don't we go ahead and make this game?" So we did, and that sort of allowed us to hire our first staff. And
wow.
Off to the races.
Yeah, what'd you start with? Did you, because you're like, 1 million, what can we do? Okay, let's get all these people, and and it's probably pretty easy just to go off the deep end. And I imagine it'd be very challenging to be reserved about that.
Is that a plan? This was an ocean science game that we made with $1 million. We did, in fact, go off the deep end. But
and you discovered things.
Yeah, we started with just a couple contractors and ramped up very slowly. We were in the Baldwin Street incubator. That's yeah.
The Madison Enterprise Center.
Yes, Madison Enterprise Center.
We were in there too.
Right?
You know what? But that was many years ago when you were in there.
Yeah, this would have been.
We've been out a year.
2007.
What suite were you in?
We were in 3 different suites.
Huh?
Yeah, we started on the top floor, kind of in the middle, and then we moved down to the second floor at the end of the hall, and then second floor at the end of the hall on the other side. So I can't even remember, but basically we got bigger and successfully bigger suites as we grew. So that place was great, super affordable, and helped us get going and have like a real space, even though our air conditioner looked like a Russian satellite.
Yeah. It's character.
It had character. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's very artistic. we were in there. Where were we?
205. We did not have an air conditioner, but the walls were cool. It was stone.
So when you were hot, you just leaned up.
We
against
determined
the
it
wall
was
for a
always.
while.
We determined it was cool enough. Or maybe we did have an air conditioner.
I think we did, but we didn't need to run it often.
Yeah, we got away like it was
The center
so
of the brick
little
building.
because we were the second from the end of the hall.
Okay.
So we felt like we were probably benefiting from
Pretty
the people
insulated.
side on the
Nice.
sides
And
of
above
this.
us.
Yeah. Well, so when we first moved in there, we had on the 3rd floor, we were next to Potter's Crackers. We didn't have any ventilation, so we came home smelling like burnt
Oh
Christmas
my
trees
gosh.
every day.
Yeah.
Because
And when they do, like,
taste
the
great
onion
when they're
ones?
done, but when they're cooking,
The onion ones, it's just like, all right, somebody needs a shower.
Yes.
Oh wait, we're next to the onion factory.
Yes.
Cracker factory. Yeah.
And when we first moved into the first space, we inherited it from a biodiesel company that spilled biodiesel all over the carpet.
Oh my gosh.
And it painted the walls, but the guy was colorblind. And so he painted it, he took a sponge and various, 4 different shades of green and splotched them on the wall. So that was the first project, is we had to paint over that, tear out the carpet, and put in new flooring, which is still there to this day. Yeah.
I don't know. There was probably somebody in there because I don't remember seeing.
In our space, in the space we were in.
In their space.
Yeah, the movement place.
Yeah.
Well, aquaponics was
Aquaponics.
in there for a little while.
Yeah.
they might have been the ones right after you because they were there when we got there.
Yeah, when did we get there? 4 years ago. So 12, and how many years were you there? Only 3, or?
We were there until 2010. And I think we moved
Okay.
in 2007.
This would be really, really exciting for all those people who aren't from Madison, who don't know Baldwin
It's a
Street,
really great
who
place, though.
aren't
And I'm
in
sure there's
Enterprise
places
Center.
like this, everywhere.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
all over the
I mean,
place.
yeah. It's a plug for incubators. And,
Yeah. Hashtag incubator sponsor our show.
Because they have all the money.
That's right.
Actually, hashtag companies who get $1 million and go to an incubator sponsor our show.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We went to the incubator with a little less than $1 million.
Fewer zeros.
Yeah. Couple zeros less.
More hopes and more prayers.
Yeah. It was the Hunger Games.
That's right.
There was 7 of you when that thing started. It came down to you two.
So, I mean, what about that? So, like, that's a really good point. Like, were you still hungry to do well and to exceed and, to work late nights when it's like, well, we just got the $1 million?
Yeah, because it was sort of like investment capital at that point, where we had the $1 million in spirit, but we didn't have it in our bank account.
Mm-hmm.
So we still had to earn it, and it passed through the nonprofit organization that was the subsidiary of National Geographic. So we didn't actually have our paws on it yet, and there was still, I think, at that point, still quite a bit of skepticism on the part of the people that we were doing the work for, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it was going to be their brand on the thing, not
Right.
ours. So yeah, we still put in the hours.
Yeah. Now, were there checks? Like, once we get to this point, then we'll distribute another set of
Yes.
funding.
Yep, we had milestones based on deliverables.
Mhm.
That was the first time we invented the statement of work. I don't know if you guys knew that. We invented the conference room. We invented business cards. All that stuff didn't exist.
This is all
until
new
we
technology.
discovered that you need those.
That's
things in business.
amazing. And then you sent them to the past.
Yes, exactly. And then
I'm thinking you
I'm
used
really
$1 million
happy you did
to
that.
make a time machine and not a game.
You could really take that $10 and invest it back when we
I-
founded the country. I don't know.
I
Like, everyone sign this and put $10 into this little pot here, and we'll have a country. I think that's how it works.
Well, that's exactly how
time
it
machine
works.
would actually be a great business model. Figure that one out.
I have an invention for what's called a desk placard. We could totally send that back in time. I think people in the 60s and the 70s will love it.
So how long did you how long did that project take, and how long did that last? Did you finish with that right on budget, or did you get more budget, or
Yeah, we actually, so what ended up happening was we finished that under budget by a fair margin. It turns out we didn't actually need $1 million. And we built like 6 or 7 more games with it after that, with the same client.
That's awesome.
And just about different subject areas. So now that came interestingly enough. So we built that one in 3D, because at that point the vision was still, we're going to build a game that looks just like a commercial entertainment game that you would play for fun on your own time and your own volition. And so we made a game that, I think you could put it on Steam and it would hold its own. And then this organization released it to schools and instantly ran into all sorts of issues like, we don't know how to download or install this. We're running into like firewalls, and the graphics processing units in our computers aren't beefy enough to run this. And so immediately after, we made a very small game about building roller coasters, thrown about kinetic energy and potential energy, Flash. And the downloads for the awesome, like, immersive 3D ocean science game were, they were good, but let's say they're here, and then like we released the Flash game. It was like, because all you had to do is go to the webpage and you could play it, and you were
Right.
playing in like 5 seconds. So that was an interesting lesson in technology in schools.
But you would have had. I mean, you had to go the other route in order to probably
Yeah.
even realize it. Because I would think of that. There wouldn't. I mean, at the time,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be the thought process to be like, oh,
Totally.
would their computers be able to handle this? Like,
Yep.
we're just trying to make a really good looking, fun game.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I've only ever ancillarily
sure.
had to deal with Flash, and I can't imagine anyone would want to just go there.
No.
Ancillary motility, actually.
The modality of ancillarity. Games have changed, over the last, 30 years drastically. I'm trying to think, when was Atari? My grandma had Atari. I remember
It's
as a
70s.
small kid.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the 80s we had Atari, and then our first system was the Nintendo, and I think I was still pretty little, but we played a lot of that, and then Super, and then all that stuff, where you couldn't beat games, where it would take you now 2 hours to beat a game, but back then you couldn't beat it, and so you'd spend weeks or I don't know what seemed like a long time.
Yeah.
And now
playing the same thing over.
I still haven't beaten the original Batman game on the NES. I own it still,
oh my
and I
gosh,
have
some
yet
of
to
those
beat
are
it.
treasures.
Is that the one where you jump back and
Yep.
forth up it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Every 5 years, I will bust it out going, I'm gonna freaking beat this damn thing. This is gonna be the year.
Well, and you get to that one thing. You get to that one thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, why? Like, I still don't know how to. I've read how to do this, and I still can't do it. Like Battletoads. Did anybody ever play
Yeah.
Battletoads?
Uh-huh.
Where you get to the Ski-Doo or the Jet Runner, whatever. That one where you have to go up, down, up, down. You have to memorize that pattern.
Right, yes.
And if you don't do that, you go back to the beginning, and then when you die 4 times, you start over.
Yeah.
See, and this is what game theory people have studied and figured out. And they're like, oh, we're going to make it a little bit easier so that they finish it and they get that little shot of dopamine. And they're like, there's a new game coming out.
Yeah.
And that's why I have such a hard time getting into games.
Yeah. It's
There are games that I have played, but I wouldn't call myself a gamer, but I played Myst for a very long time and played, and went through lots of levels and took lots and lots of notes. And just getting myself through there. I loved some of the PC strategy games. Chips Challenge. You're just pushing blocks around and trying to get yourself through a maze, basically. But there's different things. Lemmings was a DOS game.
I love Lemmings.
I played a lot of puzzle sort of games that would build like that. But a lot of the modern games I just feel, and maybe it's because I read an article that spoiled it for me, but I feel like it's I played this level and I fight this guy and then I beat him and then I get to the next level and then there's a couple guys and they're a little bit better and they have a little bit stronger swords, but with the money I earned from the first level I go get a little bit better weapon and then I'm just intellectually I'm just it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Only if you purchased for 99 cents that sword.
Well, the last. So, are you guys familiar with the Elder Scrolls series?
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Skyrim.
Yeah. So before Skyrim was Oblivion, right?
Oblivion.
Yeah. Oblivion had a very controversial system where no matter where you went, the monsters would kind of level to where you were at in your trajectory in terms of your abilities and your equipment.
You never were awesome.
You never were awesome.
Or at least I never felt awesome.
Exactly. You can never go back to that rat, with your flaming sword from the heavens.
Yeah, because it's a uber rat. Uber.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it broke the game for a ton of people because for a lot of people, that trajectory going from the peon, right, to the god essentially is where the fun comes in.
And you dominate.
Right.
And if they're equal to you, then it's like, well, I might as well still be the peon because I'm not any stronger than they are.
Yes.
And it's a rat, so or goblin or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
Like when you get to that point, you want to only be challenged by a dragon.
Right.
And then when you're running through the forest, you don't want to be killed by an antelope. Like a majestic.
Is this a common occurrence?
A majestic animal.
I think it'd be kind of badass to go out that way.
So actually, with the games that you guys create and your game theory that I'm sure you've developed over the 10 years that you've been doing this, how do you shake all that down? Because I certainly love Ori and the Blind Forest is a good one. It's kind of back to that older platformer where it's nope, you're just going to die a bunch until you figure it out. And you could get frustrated, but then when you overcome that, there's something very valuable in that experience.
Yep.
I'll also play all the other games where it's okay, this is too hard. Like Skyrim, for instance, I played it on a pretty difficult level, and I was I'm tired of being killed by forest animals, so I just
By
turned
those
it down.
wild antelopes.
Yeah, I just started scaling it down. So where have you guys gone with that? Kind of balancing the challenge, but then being able to overcome the challenges as well.
Right. Yeah. So all the games we're talking about right now have their narratives about empowerment, right? You start as somebody who's disempowered, you end as somebody who's empowered. So we try to take that same mechanic, the mechanic of empowerment, except we have the things that you learn be the things that empower you in the game space. So the better you are at the systems that we want you to learn, the better you are at the game. As far as balancing that difficulty, it's we'll do that until the cows come home.
Yeah.
Right. It's just that's an ongoing task
Until you tell everyone to move on.
right. Yeah.
Project.
Like when we're making games for schools, I think we have a challenge that's particularly hairy in that most kids, like if they meet a challenge, they'll just keep trying until they bust through that wall, just like we did when we were playing Batman, right, on the SNES.
Or you just don't.
I'm still attempting to bust through that wall. My fist is like halfway through it.
Hang in there, buddy.
It's like one day.
We'll get through this together.
I mean, it's
I'm
amazing that there's
get
not
to
an
level
entire
3.
generation of people with anger management issues, 'cause these games are so frustrating and difficult. And so the challenge in our games is usually far less than I think what the typical kid is willing to take on. What we see more often is that the teachers are not willing to take on the challenge. So if we put a really difficult game in front of a teacher who is not used to playing games, I think that the amount of tolerance they have for getting stuck is much smaller than the amount of tolerance that a kid has. Yeah. So it's this dynamic that's inverse to what it typically is in the classroom, where the student is kind of the one who's empowered because they're used to this. It's like no big deal. I play hard games. I get stuck. I talk to my friends. I keep trying. It's like they're used to that dynamic. But a lot of times, educators or administrators are not accustomed to that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how that works because they have a certain amount of capital that they can spend on the children, to get them to do things, and with an unknown of like how long is this going to take? It could take could take them one try, it could take them 20, could take them more than that. That might be difficult for them to figure out, like how valuable is it, as opposed to something over here where yes, this reading this will take this time, this. Whereas in the corporate world, if you're just selling a game, you're like, I don't know, we'll play test it and we'll talk to the users and we'll make it as badass as we think it is and they think it is, and we'll kind of come together on that. So do you like that challenge of like dealing with the educators?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think in my experience, we're always dealing with like really good, intelligent, well-intentioned people who are in a system that is for a long time has been very technology phobic, and it's just starting to make the transition from print to digital, for example. So there's a whole bunch of devices in schools now that didn't used to be there, and as a result of that, there's a whole bunch of people trying to figure out, well, what's the impact that these devices are going to have on education. And then people like us make their jobs even more difficult. We say, the device is cool, but you could also play video games on it. You can still play video games, and that opens up all these new experiences in the classroom. And many of them are just like, whoa, I'm still working on it, like what the implication of Google Docs is in the classroom, right? So we're still, in many ways, the work that we're doing is still sort of the work of the future, which is not like meant to be a compliment.
I think we just time traveled again.
It's because of the time machine. You beat me. You beat me to
It's
the
just
punch.
we're making things for a world that's not quite ready for it. It will be.
How tricky
It's
can
not
you
quite
get
ready
with
for
the
that.
challenges the kids are playing, where they're like, oh man, I can't get past this level. I can't figure out this derivative of whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, this game's really cool. You got to figure out the derivative and the.
Meanwhile, I'm over here going, derivative. I have not heard that term since high school, and I forgot what it was.
You haven't heard it since middle school.
Was it middle school?
Yeah,
I'm a little
Grade
slow.
school.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Different paths.
I'm the slow one.
Yeah.
That was awkward.
Yeah, no, very often we see instances where like the players are not at all thinking about the content of the game. They're not thinking about, well, this is science or this is math, this is social studies. They're just thinking about how to solve the problem. And that's, I think you step back from game-based learning, and if you give anybody a good problem space, they find it compelling and they want to solve that problem,
Yeah.
then they're going to stop thinking about.
Mhm.
We're talking more advanced than like Math Muncher or whatever.
Yes.
Word munchers.
Yeah,
oh
word
my gosh,
munchers.
those are so good.
It was very clear we were playing a learning game.
But even with
They
that,
weren't
I
hiding
remember,
it.
like, you're typing word munchers, like you're like, what is it? Okay, and I think you spell a word or whatever. But like your goal is just to get that guy a little further, or to move around. I touched it. Move around with the math guy.
No, just
but
dirty.
okay, for those who can't see who are listening, I can't touch my microphone because apparently all of these are breaking. Because it'll cause a lot of audio fuzz. So I apologize for that. But I remember it was so like my focus, even though we were doing like math time, was definitely on gotta move that character, gotta get over there, gotta whatever. There's something filling up, we gotta lessen it so that it doesn't bust. And,
Right.
like the math was just.
Yeah,
part of
you
it.
give somebody even the simplest excuse to use, say, mathematics to accomplish a goal,
Mhm.
and the whole equation changes, right? And that's again why I say, regardless of whether or not game-based learning is your tool of choice, I think there's a movement within institutional education to try to refocus students on interesting problems as opposed to content, because outside of school, that's what compels everybody. Like
Mhm.
people who enjoy their work enjoy it because they get to solve interesting problems, and they're not really thinking about the content of their profession. It's like a professional mathematician isn't thinking about formulas anymore. He's thinking about how to figure out how black holes work.
Mhm.
And it's in the service of that objective that he interacts with the content that he learned in a formal academic setting.
Mhm. Now is with the movement in technology in educational institutions, schools.
In a word.
It's like, how do we say this? With like iPads or Android tablets or things like that, is that simplifying the process at all by giving a more known quantity for the platform, as opposed to 5-year-old Dells, 3-year-old Dells, 7-year-old Macs?
No, it's making it harder because they still have those 5-year-old Dells and 3-year-old Macs. So now there's just more platforms to serve.
Okay.
And being cross-platform is, I think, super important for schools, because every school you talk to is a little bit different. iPad and Chromebook have much higher market share than most other new technologies, but it's still very, you look across the board, it's still very eclectic.
So Windows XP.
I'm sure schools are keeping Windows XP alive.
I don't even know how you develop for that, like with string and an abacus.
They just say good luck. Take a stab at this. You might as well be developing for DOS.
Oh man, but it's so different. Like to see my kids now with games, and to think back when I played games and the process, and there's pros and cons, like life in this. But like before, it was a thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna set aside some time. Gotta find those diskettes,
Right.
stick them in, flip the thing, run the command. It's not working. Okay, let's try and figure it out.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's why I got into computers and tech, and that
Half the
type of thing.
gameplay was trying to get the game to
Yes.
work.
That's right.
Yes.
The
That's
game
right.
to play, basically.
Whereas now it's more just integral
Yeah.
to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, I guess, insofar as there's a generation of people with anger management issues because they're really difficult games, there's also a generation of people who have technical skills that they owe to trying to figure out how the heck to get games to work, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of it. And that's part of what when we do, say, professional development in schools, trying to talk to teachers about how to use games, trying to teach them that the troubleshooting is part of the experience. Right? It's not a defect; it's a feature.
Oh my
Can
gosh!
we use that for
we
some
have to
stuff?
start selling. Like,
We're using
that's
that.
not an error in the green screen or in my editing or the shooting. That's a style.
That's a style to have
It's a feature.
that background
Learning
not be there for
opportunity.
6 frames.
What does a typical day look like for the CEO of a modern educational game company?
There really is no typical day.
You roll up in a BMW.
It
Your assistant hands you a latte.
Yeah, starts with the
You play 2 hours worth of games, and then you call it for lunch.
Read some comics.
Yep.
This is, in my mind, this is what a game developer or
Yeah, I mean, but you get out of the car and then you gotta wade through the paparazzi.
Yes.
or paparazzo.
Yeah, right, yes. Yeah, take the elevator up to the penthouse suite. It's tough.
That sounds amazing.
Then there's budgets and HR. There are contracts to be signed. There's usually, there's usually at least one project that is in some state of conflagration,
Mhm.
you know.
You just come in, you're like, reverse it.
Yeah, right. Then
I'm
back
out.
to the
Nailed
panda.
it.
I'm going
And they're
back to
like-
my cheeseburger.
They're like, this is a squid. Does he know if we reverse it, it's the same?
Just the eyes on the other
It's a different
side.
game now.
Flip it.
The CEO validation check. Yep, he got his in today.
Yeah, no, I mean, the interesting thing about this position, I don't think it's unique to being at Filament or being at a game studio in general, but just that people want to know that I'm invested in whatever the endeavor is. So, you know, we have a work for hire business, we have a publishing business. The work for hire business is, I think, much like for you guys, you know, we make games on contract instead of movies. And then for the publishing business, we make our own IP and then we try to sell that primarily to schools. And so we are essentially in the business of risk, right?
Mhm.
We're taking, on the publishing side, we're trying to create a market where a market doesn't exist right now. It's a highly risky endeavor. On the work for hire side, people are paying us to inherit the risk of their projects. They pay us a flat amount, and you know, we embark upon this endeavor to create this really complicated thing that doesn't exist yet. Nobody knows exactly how it's going to come into being. And so I think because there's so much uncertainty and so much risk in what we do, a big part of my job is just to cheerlead, you know, to make people feel like, yes, this is the right course and we're going to get there. Even though we're amidst a whole bunch of uncertainty right now, if we stay this course, we'll get there. Or if we need to pivot, this is why we need to pivot.
And I imagine being 10 years into it. Are we okay? I'm sorry. I imagine being 10 years into it and still being successful, that, you know, there's something to how you do it, you know, intuition and obviously a lot of skills you've learned and just being in the business. But what do you find, you know, you lean more on? Do you read a lot? You know, do you read great thinkers, or you know, or is it more just you're going and you're learning together and sharing the experience and you're just, you know, feeling it out, or, you know, what's that like?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, for us, like, we're basically a company comprised of people, and it's not, I mean, obviously, yes, but like, you know, a lot of companies will have, like, you know, their payroll, and this is a decent chunk of their budget, and then there's a bunch of hardware, and you know, for us, it's like payroll is pretty much it, right? So like, we are a company that finds good people who can work well together to be creative and make worthwhile learning activities. And the extent to which we're successful is the extent to which we find good people who can work well together. And that's kind of the bottom line. There are things that I think the management can do to provide structure that facilitate good work, but at the end of the day, it's really mostly about the right people and sort of giving them the right structure and space in order to do good work. And so I guess I would say that my personal inspiration in thinking about how to create the best structures for those people comes from all different places. And I want to be very specific in saying that there's no specific place, because I feel like everything that I read about management and running things, like, everybody's got different perspectives, and they're oftentimes contradictory. And I feel like it's the milieu of all those perspectives that allow me to make a decision one way or the other in a particular circumstance. I've never found the, like, the tried and true, you know, this worked for me, it'll work for you, right? Like, anytime anybody owns a business, they tell you, like, this is my experience, this is what you should do, and like, run the other direction as fast
Unless
as
you're
you can.
interested in snake oil.
Right, yes.
Which I will be selling after the show.
Yeah,
Got a new batch in.
I have gallons of snake
It's fantastic. You will be 6 years younger.
Well, that's what I like about our team and kind of how we do it, because John and I started this 7 years ago, out of college, and just kind of made it up as we went along.
Yeah.
We gained a lot of knowledge from those currently working in the industry in town, but then the rest of the world.
Yep.
As well as Hollywood. Here's how Hollywood does it. Why does that work? Why doesn't it?
Yep.
And now we have a son of a bitch. I totally hit it.
That's a good timing because I'm
Okay.
gonna use the restroom.
Okay. And we have
We
a
actually have to
business
wrap up soon,
development
too.
guy who has a lot more corporate experience.
Okay.
And we have a lot of these really great conversations, about he comes with an idea, or we come with an idea, and we kind of hash it out like, here's our different perspectives and our understandings from where we're at.
Yeah.
Let's come up with something new that will work here.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
And I think we very quickly got away from snake oil, and I think that's a trap. Like
It's a trap.
read this one book, or go to this course, or
And you'll know everything you need to know about running a business.
or even having that perspective of all I need to do is X,
Right.
or all I need to do is Y.
Yes.
Because I feel like every time we achieve something, it's like, all right, well, now the next thing.
Yep.
And the next, and the next.
Yes, there's always the next problem to be solved. Yeah, we always like to say, like, it's okay that we're solving problems, we just don't want to be solving the same problems over and over
Yeah.
again.
Yep.
And I imagine after that first one, didn't quit. After that first one, there's a lot of efficiencies, or a lot of processes
Yeah.
that you designed that
Oh,
could be
yes.
used again.
Yes.
And then whereas
we
you
have designed many processes.
and you feel lean all the
We
time.
design processes for designing processes.
We have a committee on committees. It's great. They'll let you know if you can have a committee.
Oh, that's fantastic. I wish I could have a committee.
But who lets them know if they can have a committee?
That'd be the
That's-
committee on
that's a good
committee on
question.
committees.
Yeah,
Committees. Committees.
Communities.
yeah. So we're about wrapping up
Adding the
here.
words.
I wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
Based on what you said a minute ago about making it up, because I was having a conversation with somebody recently about this, where you do, like, it's the same thing for us in the beginning. We just made it up as we went along, and we did that for long enough. We were like, oh, maybe something is working here. And then you get to a certain point where you have enough people who work for you and are sort of like new to the business, and came to it once it was already like an established official corporation. And then you realize one day they don't realize you're just making it up as you go.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh,
And
They assume this is how it is.
and you just like, if it's your first job out of school or something like that, you go to any. I mean, that's the thing, is like, if I ever stop doing this and I work someplace else, the first thing I'm going to do is go to the CEO. I don't care if it's a Fortune 500 company or a startup. I'm going to go to the CEO and be like, all right, tell me about what you're making up right now. Let's have an honest conversation. Because that's the thing. It's like, anybody who tells you that they know exactly what they're doing is executing a preordained plan. It's full of, can we swear in this?
Shit.
Yes.
Yes.
All of it.
Yes.
I worked in retail for 4 years. I knew nothing about
Yeah.
the stuff I sold.
Yeah.
I made it
So-
up, and you learn.
Exactly.
While you're making
learn
it up.
as you go, exactly.
It's so weird.
But if you are not making stuff up, then there's nothing that's changing about your business, which means you're stagnating,
Right.
which means you're about to go out of
Right.
business.
What's
you
getting better?
Like, making stuff up is a sign of a healthy business. That means you're pushing and stretching in different ways.
That's why we're making up everything
Every in time.
every day.
There's actually nothing inside this box. It's 3 wires. We don't know how it's working.
We've
but it's
never
working.
actually done this before.
There's just string through here. It goes
Yes.
back to a tin can.
Yeah. We're not actually we're not recording.
This has all been fake.
This is a legit setup.
We just wanted to come and chat with you. Well, thank you so much for coming on. If you have anything else you wanted to say, now is the time. Otherwise, I'd love to plug everything that you do.
Cool.
I'd
Yeah.
love to have
Let's
you
get to the
back
plugging.
on. Now that we've had this intro conversation, back on for
Yeah.
a life conversation.
Smart one.
Yeah. So where can people find you? Where do you want people to go?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have some
So
kind of cool secret site? you
We
can
have a
tell
website.
people?
It is public.
It's not that one. The secret one.
It's like the secret menu on the In-N-Out burgers.
Exactly. Which is delish.
Yeah, so our website is actually just our company's name, but with no space between the words.
Filament Games. Until you can do spaces.
.com. We have what is it called? Facebook.
The Facebook.
The Facebook.
Yeah, we have a
Two spaces.
Facebook page. Yeah. I think you just search Filament Games.
Just
on
Filament.
Facebook.
And you
Everywhere.
just
Google it.
That's you.
Yeah,
That's you
We have a
guys.
Twitter feed.
Facebook it.
Any games or anything we can plug and sell for you to the 12 people that are going to listen? Well, plus your staff that you forced to listen to this. You're like, check out this crazy shit.
Mike didn't work half the
These
time.
guys are dumb.
Fat guy kept laughing.
Yeah, that's the other part of my job, just rampant narcissism. Like, shove everybody in the room. Gotta watch.
That's how
me
you
on
do
this
it. You're like,
podcast.
nope, this is my company, and my bullshit ideas are going to be what's great.
That's how we do it. I do something. Like, here, you need to watch this. I did this. It's fun.
Yeah, no, we got Facebook, Twitter. I think
Any games they can buy?
Oh yeah, the game plug.
I looked on the App Store.
On Steam, you can get a game called Reach for the Sun right now. I think it just went off sale, which is like the worst thing you can say because people are like, "Oh, it was cheaper and now it's more expensive." It's the worst time I could possibly.
Just go ahead and type in coupon code working title and you get 50% off.
Yeah.
But it's still cheap. It's like it's like $5 something like that.
Oh,
Come
so
on,
buy it.
people.
Yeah.
Quit your complaining.
That's cheap. that is.
$5.
Jeff's buying it right now.
I'm buying it right now.
You're buying a hamburger right now that looks like the
Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon for $5. Buy this game.
Yep. Play strategy mode. It's better in strategy mode. You get to grow plants from seed, making decisions about collecting
all about
resources.
chlorophyll.
I'm doing a similar strategy game at home right now. It's called Planting Seeds in trying to get them to grow.
Yeah. I just started that game
And
yesterday.
it sucks.
Welcome to spring. Yeah, you need a game where you can be, rewarded
Yeah.
quickly.
How about a game that just rewards me for doing nothing?
That exists.
That sounds like
Totally
fun.
exists. There are games that play themselves, and you just watch the tally go up.
I don't know, back in the day when we created those,
It's called day
those
trading.
armies and just let them play, we're like, oh yeah, this is great.
I don't have to do
Better than anything.
Right. Way to
It's
bring
totally-
it full circle.
I know, right? So,
Podcast.
thank you so much, Dan, for coming on. It was a
Thank
real
you.
pleasure. We'd love to have you back on if it wasn't too terrible for you.
Yeah.
We can really get into the personal stuff,
All right. Good.
like haircuts and
In the-
beards.
in the-
You can't, if you're listening, you can't hear.
That is
He's
juicy.
got
That is
a
juicy.
pretty epic
stuff.
haircut
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Let's get this angle.
Lovely blonde
Yeah.
beard.
Oh,
He has a
fantastic.
better haircut and beard than all of us,
Any of
can,
us.
can achieve.
Yes.
so.
That's right.
That's why I wear a hat.
He's a part-time model, so it's
Let's,
just,
let's get the other Dan Doran. He actually does have a legitimately. He's very legitimately hirsute.
nice.
Yeah.
Is he a developer?
He's actually
Or
one of the
was?
founders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was he a developer?
Oh, was he a
one of-
developer? Yeah.
Is he
so
not? Because like
he's-
that's kind of developer Lee.
He is a designer. He's our chief creative officer. So he's a designer. That is within the developer category. Just
Okay.
usually when people say developer, they think
But-
programmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's more stylish.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
Yeah. I could bring you before and after pictures that would make you realize that the style developed over the course of the last 10 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I'd hate to see that of myself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wanna see any of those.
I don't like looking at me from last
In
week.
compromising positions. Yeah. That'd be- Wait, who are we talking about?
Yep.
Not me.
We did it.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you
That's
so
fun.
much.
That's a blast. Oh, and vice versa. One or all of you should come and get on our podcast at some time.
Ooh, yes.
It'd be super cool. We don't have video, obviously.
Don't have video. It's
Just have
terrible.
that.
It's the most difficult thing ever.
But yeah.
Yeah, and the guy who has to edit it just hates it.
Our intern.
Yeah, the intern. I don't mind doing it. I like it.
Oh yeah, so you should check out the rest of us on the internet. Shoe John Maker, Random Bell,
Yep.
BitLife Show, Ryan Fring, and at Filament Games.
At Filament Games.
At Filament Games. Follow, do all the things.
Play a game.
Let's do this. It's morphin' time.
That's the intro. Words are fun. Hi.
I like how we're setting up and Jeff's in here, and I'm getting Slack updates from Jeff somehow. Like, hey, here's the thing. Look at this. Every time we set up, it's like different. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
Find Your Fun. I have no idea what this is. For extra fun, try to mine your clues. Try to mime your
Hey,
clues. No
Jeff was
talking.
having extra fun the whole time.
Jeff couldn't do it anyway.